Our goal here is to graph some parametric equations. For starters, we're going to graph x equals 3t plus 2, y equals t plus 1 for t between 0 and 4 inclusive. To graph these equations, what we're going to do is create a table of values. I'm going to create values for t. Since I want t to go from 0 to 4, what I'll do is make a list of values of t from 0 to 4, increasing the values by 1. Then what I can do is use the equations to find the corresponding values of x and y. For example, when t is 0, I get 3 times 0 is 0, 0 plus 2 is 2. When t is 1, I get 3 times 1 is 3, 3 plus 2 is 5. For t is 2, I'm going to get 8. For t is 3, I get 11. For t is 4, I get 14. Now I'm going to do the same thing for the y values. When t is 0, I have y equals 0 plus 1, which is 1. For t is 1, I get y is 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now what I need to do is plot the ordered pairs 2, 1, 5, 2, 8, 3, 11, 4, and 14, 5. I go ahead and plot those points, and I obtain the following graph. What you should notice on this graph is that I have an arrow drawn here. That arrow is used to indicate the orientation of the graph. By that I mean that the graph begins here, and then as t increases, we end up over here. We're now going to graph another parametric equation. This parametric equation is a little more complicated because it's involving trigonometric expressions. We have that x equals 2 cosine of t, y equals 3 sine of t, and we're going to graph this for t between 0 and 2 pi inclusive. The idea is the same. Choose values of t within the given interval and then use the equations to find the values of x and y. What I'm going to do is choose values of t that work nice: 0, pi over 2, pi, 3 pi over 2, and then 2 pi. Then I can figure out x and y. For example, when t is equal to 0, I have that x equals 2 times the cosine of 0. The cosine of 0 is 1, so I have 2 times 1, which is 2. When we're at t is pi over 2, I have 2 times the cosine of pi over 2, so that's 2 times 0, which is 0. At t is pi, we have the cosine of pi. The cosine of pi is negative 1. 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. For 3 pi over 2, we have the cosine of 3 pi over 2, which is 0. 2 times 0 is 0. And then for 2 pi, cosine of 2 pi is 1. 1 times 2 is 2, so we're right back where we started. Do the same thing for the y values. We have for t is 0, we have y equals 3 times the sine of 0. Sine of 0 is 0, so 3 times 0 is 0. At pi over 2, the sine of pi over 2 is 1. 3 times 1 is 3. Then for pi, the sine of pi is 0, so 3 times 0 is 0. At 3 pi over 2, the sine of 3 pi over 2 is negative 1. 3 times negative 1 is negative 3. And then finally, back at 2 pi, the sine of 2 pi is 0, so 3 times 0 is 0. So what we're going to do is plot these ordered pairs. We're going to plot the ordered pair 2, 0, then 0, 3, then negative 2, 0, 0, negative 3, and then end up back at 2, 0. If we plot these points and then draw in arrows indicating that we start at 2, 0 and continue through the points as they're indicated in the list, we'll have the orientation of the graph drawn. When we obtain the graph, there we are at 2, 0, then at 0, 3, then negative 2, 0, then 0, negative 3, then back at 2, 0. Notice the arrows on the graph indicate that the orientation is in the counterclockwise direction.